Welcome to the MLB Slate Breakdown. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Brent Hine. Taking a look at tonight's 14-game slate on FanDuel and DraftKings. Really good pitching slate here. This is overall actually just a pretty good slate in general.
Yeah, it's a really fun, pretty decent sized slate, and there are a ton of pitching options. Like, I felt like I could have probably written up like 10 different pitchers when I did the pitching article for today. It's pretty crazy.
And across all ranges too, like we get, we're gonna have the Sale and Verlanders and Strasburgs, but there's some cheaper guys as well on this slate that I feel like might get overlooked.
Yeah, there's a few. One that I'm super high on, and I can't wait to talk about him a few games down the line. It's one of my favorite days of the week whenever he's on the slate.
Sonny Gray's not pitching today.
No, he's not someone I would ever consider using. I don't care. I don't care about his last game.
First one here, we got Milwaukee and Philly. Vince Velasquez versus Ulysses Chassin. Interesting game here. Let's talk pitching here first. Velasquez 8-3. This guy's been on an absolute heater of late. I kind of like him in this spot in GPPs.
Yeah, he's someone I do have a little bit of interest in as far as tournaments goes. Just a guy with a lot of strikeout potential. I mean, 24.7% dating back to last season, 28.4 this season. This Brewers offense projected lineup striking out about 23% of the time this season against right-handed pitching. His biggest issues, though, continues to be with lefties. I mean, 372 WOBA, 281 ISO allowed to lefties this season. Numbers dating back to last season, not much worse. And you do have a couple lefties like Yelich and Shaw and potentially G-Man Choi that could get in that lineup that could punish him. But if he can get around those couple of guys, the dude's just virtually unhittable by right-handed hitting. So if they load up a bunch of righties, he's definitely someone that I have some interest in.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, he's been excellent. I mean, 2.14 ERA over the last month, 45 strikeouts and 33.2 innings in that span. And like you said, the Brewers are a team that will strike out. You mentioned the only bats that are really fearful in this spot because Velasquez does tend to struggle with lefties. But, I mean, of late, he's been a little bit better. We've seen him kind of hold him to contention. So I like him a lot at this price, 8,300 on DK. There's a lot of upside at that spot. He kind of fits in nice as an SP2 as well.
Yeah, he really does. If you're looking to go like mid-range at SP2, he's definitely someone that kind of fits that bill. And again, a ton of strikeout upside.
Yeah. And if I was I'm not tremendously interested, but it would be Yelich and Shaw here as usual, the lefties against him.
Yeah, I'd probably lean a little bit more towards Yelich just because the contact rates against that fastball, 86, 87%, almost 40% hard contact, 353 roll, but not a ton of power. Shaw's a guy that does have a 330 ISO against that four-seam fastball that Velasquez throws a ton, but only like a 74% contact rate.
Yeah. Other side of this one, I dug in a little bit to seeing the Phillies. I actually really like the Phillies lefties in this spot quite a bit.
I'm always someone that's going to look at lefties versus Chassin because it's just he has struggled against them. Dating back to last season, strikeout rate is way down against lefties. This season, like 11%, he's 14% dating back to last season. And this is a lineup that could get pretty lefty heavy if they really wanted to.
Yeah, I'm hoping we see, the J.P. Crawford in there. I know Nick Williams left the game, but Dylan Cousins is a guy who got in that lineup late. He's got some pop. If he's in that lineup, I think he's an interesting option. But like you said, it's the Carlos Santana, Cesar Hernandez, Odubel Herrera guys that we're all looking at here. And Santana and Hernandez decent against that slider as well that he throws a decent amount of times.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at. Like you have Carlos Santana, like 75% contact rate against it, 206 ISO, 346 WOBA. He's definitely someone that I do have some interest in. And then King Caesar is always interesting at the top of that lineup. And you mentioned Cousins. I like him as a power threat. But he's a guy with absolutely no plate discipline at all. He's just a dude that's really massive and has big muscles and hits ball really far, but doesn't hit ball very good.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, his strikeout rate's like 30% down in the minors, but I mean the pop is there if you want to take a chance. I like Phillies. chances are they probably won't allow me to fully stack because I think that lineup will end up having like Kingery or Altair kind of break it up, and I really don't have any interest in the righties.
No, I really don't either, but you could get creative and go like Crawford at the bottom of that lineup, Caesar, Odubel, and maybe you get like Cousins and like you could do like Cousins, Crawford, Hernandez, Herrera, and just do kind of like a bottom of an order stack. Like J.P. Crawford, not a guy that is very disciplined at the plate either, but he's really cheap on DraftKings at 2,900.
Yeah, so definitely some options here. Next game, we got San Francisco and Washington. Steven Strasburg taking on Andrew Suarez. I don't mind Strasburg in this spot. I think he's obviously going to be a guy I think that gets overlooked because of Sale and Verlander tonight. He's definitely an interesting lower-owned option, I feel, of the Aces.
Yeah, he's a guy that I did write up. It is a pretty interesting spot for him against this Giants offense. Like, they've been hitting the ball really, really hard this season against right-handed pitching, but like they're just not doing that much. I mean, they have like their projected lineup has like a 24% strikeout rate. Strasburg near 30% strikeout rate this season. He's been so good to both sides of the plates. Like righties, he has a 35% strikeout rate this season. I like him a lot in the spot as a tournament option because he is going to go overlooked whenever you have Sale for like 300 more on DraftKings. So if you want to pivot off of Sale, I think he's a very, very good option here.
And I have zero interest in targeting Strauss with any of these bats right now.
Yeah, I don't really either. I was looking. I think one of their bats has some decent BVP against them, but like I'm not gonna try to target that.
Yeah. Other side of this one, you got Suarez on the hill, a guy with a low 90s fastball. Will throw that slider a decent amount. Giving up a ton of hard contact still. A decent amount of pop to right-handed bats. I don't mind a couple of these ones. I'm not tremendously high on Washington. Anthony Rendon is a guy who does stand out in this spot, but that's kind of it.
Rendon is someone that I do have a lot of interest in. Anytime a lefty's on the mound, I like Anthony Rendon. I mean, Suarez, a guy 244 ISO, 375 WOBA allowed to righties this season, and Rendon, a guy that just rakes against that low 90s four-seam fastball. He's got like a 284 ISO, 426 WOBA against an 86% contact rate. So he's a very, very good one-off option. Mark Reynolds, a guy projected to bat cleanup, I think, is definitely interesting as well. 239 ISO against that low 90s four-seamer, 393 WOBA, 76% contact rate. But like I even like Michael Taylor as someone that he's hitting the ball. 44% hard contact against that pitch. Only a 237 WOBA, but 512 xWOBA. He's someone that I do kind of have a little interest in too.
Yeah, cheap option. He's still making a decent amount of hard contact against lefties. I think I'm just done doing the Washington stack dance here. I think they're all just one-offs.
Yeah, I don't hate using them as one-offs.
Next one, you got Baltimore and Toronto. A game, Andrew Cashner versus Jay Happ. I will say I wish Happ was a little bit cheaper, but I think he's obviously another one who's going to go overlooked in this spot and has some strikeout upside against this Baltimore team that just continues to suck against left-handed pitching.
Yeah, he's the first guy that went in my pitching article today. There's just so much strikeout potential here for him against this lineup. Man, the Orioles are so bad. They're just so freaking bad. Like their projected lineup, like I feel like I'm reading this incorrectly, but like 30-something % strikeout rate against lefties this season. Yeah, that's what I have here. That's not good.
No, and they've oddly shown very little power. It's most of it. It's Machado and Valencia, and then that's kind of it here against lefties. We just haven't seen a lot of production anywhere else as we've seen Scope have a down year so far. Maybe he gets it going at some point, but Happ, a huge favorite, should get some run support here. Going to be lower owned because he is priced up with Sale and Strasburg and all these names, and I like him a lot in GPPs.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of trying to pair him with Sale on like fantasy draft and potentially DraftKings if you can afford to do it. You'll have to get creative with your stacks, but it's possible to make it work. And you literally have probably 20 to 22, maybe 24 strikeouts between your two pitchers at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And a good chance that someone cuts a jersey as well.
You do have a very good chance of that happening too.
Mentioned Machado and Valencia. I don't have a ton of interest in Machado tonight. Obviously, I do always like him against lefties, but I value a couple other shortstops a little bit more here.
Yeah, I pretty much agree there. It's one of those situations where I think I would rather go with a couple other cheaper guys than Machado. But if you wanted to roll him out, I mean, he obviously great park facing the lefties. So, yeah.
Other side of this one, you got Andrew Kashner on the hill, who just kind of continues to do what he does. I don't mind some bats here. You mentioned kind of going with some cheaper options. I think the Toronto prices are stand out to me here, especially like a Curtis Granderson, who's only 3,500 on DK, projected to lead off. Definitely a couple interesting names here.
There are a few very, very interesting names. You mentioned Granderson. He's the guy that I think we obviously have to start with. Against righties dating back to last season, Granderson 227 ISO, 332 WOBA, like 79% contact rate. But against that sinker, which Kashner's throwing like, what is he throwing it like 38% of the time this season? Granderson 91% contact rate, 410 WOBA, 255 ISO. Very, very, very good spot for him, and he's way too cheap, I think, across the industry. Guy that I really, really like in the spot is young Jervis Solarte. I mean, it just comes down to like where Kashner is placing his pitches. It's something that we've talked a little bit about, but like 9% of his pitches against lefties is in that bottom right hand corner. Solarte 584 WOBA against pitches in that location, and he's got pretty good numbers against sinkers as well. He's 90% contact rate, 328 WOBA. Ground ball guy against the pitch, but I still don't hate using him. And then like Justin Smoke, Kendrys Morales, all really, really good really good options here. And even like Randall Grichuk.
Yeah, like I say, it's guys that hit that slider well, and there's a lot of them in this Toronto lineup. I like both Smoke and Morales, depending on what you kind of need as far as salary goes. You got $1,000 difference between the two, Morales being the cheaper options, but both hit that sinker pretty well. And Morales is going to start coming around here. The hard contact is up. He hasn't played a ton this year, but I mean, 44% hard contact rate against righties this season. A guy still with a good track record against right-handers.
Yeah, for sure. Any of those guys in play, and don't overlook the guys at the bottom. Like I said, Randall Grichuk, 247 ISO, 315 WOBA dating back to last season against righties. A guy that generally does hit the ball pretty hard, almost 40% hard contact rate against right-handed pitching dating back to last season. He hits that sinker pretty well, 212 ISO, and then like Aledmus Diaz. So what else that you could look at?
Yep. Yeah, Diaz only 3,200.
Yep.
Next one here, you got New York versus New York. Jacob deGrom taking on Masahiro Tanaka. Both pitchers certainly viable in these spots, and both kind of on the cheaper side of the aces, I'll say.
Yeah, I would have a lot more interest in deGrom if it was a smaller slate. Obviously, the dude has just been absolutely phenomenal recently. Like, what did he have? Like a 0.69 ERA for the entire month of May. And he only gave up 1 earned in his first June start. So he's been really, really good. I think he's probably one of the best tournament options, just because, this Yankees offense we have seen cool off pretty like they've been pretty cold recently, especially in that Toronto series. And like the dude's been just so good, like 34% strikeout rate this season. It's been virtually unhittable from hitters on both sides of the plate. It's just one of those situations where if it was a smaller slate, I would probably have more interest in him.
Yeah, I think because Sale's like $500 more, like I can kind of go to Sale and rely on a win there. Like DeGrom, I think DeGrom's a great DK play. I think I'm going other directions on FanDuel because I don't think there's any shot that DeGrom gets a win. Yeah, like you said, he has been so good. I mean, since April 16th, he's only allowed one earned run or fewer in each start. You mentioned the strikeout upside. I mean, he's got 2 double-digit strikeout games in his last 4 starts. Yankees team that does strike out quite a bit. Like I said, he's just, yeah, a great tournament option here. I think I will have some exposure here just because of that price tag too and the strikeout upside, but he's definitely a DK guy.
Yeah, I completely agree there.
I don't have any interest in really targeting against DeGrom here in this spot.
No, I don't really either. If you're really, really trying to be contrarian, like if you're building at like 150 lineups, you could stack some Yankees for some reason. Like I don't think you're going to get an edge from doing it though.
Oh, be there. Other side of this one, Tanaka, also a guy who's in play in this spot against the Mets. I need to get Tanaka right at least once this year.
I've gotten him right a couple times, and it's been like the Angels starts whenever he's like shut down the Angels, and that's been about it. There's been a couple other decent starts, but like this is a very interesting spot against the Mets. Like it is a little bit concerning. Like he has not been able to make it through like any of these games cleanly. But like this Mets offense is so bad. Outside of like Brandon Nimmo and Michael Conforto, this offense is just so bad. And Nimmo has actually been cooling off recently. I wish Tanaka was a little bit cheaper, but like I still think he's a fine SP2 option. He's not someone that I think you're looking at in like cash games as like an SP1 or anything like that.
No, I'm with you. He's definitely like an SP2 guy. Like you said, 9,500. It's not the worst price in the world, but we've gotten Tanaka at like 8,500 before.
Yeah.
So
I would rather get him there than any other price tag.
Yeah. Obviously, a guy who throws that off speed quite a bit. No one really particularly stands out well against it. There is a lot of strikeouts here. Like you said, it's been Nemo, Conforto, and Mike Cabrera as the only options this year. And Conforto, I don't even think he's completely healthy.
I don't think he's been healthy all season. I think it's been a thing all season long. Like if I was targeting anyone, it would be the righties because he is allowing a 216 ISO, 323 WOBA to righties dating back to last season, and this season 252 ISO. A lot of fly balls to right-handed hitters as well. So that would put like Todd Frazier and like Devin Mesoraco as people that I could target here.
Yep. This one is Seattle and Tampa Bay. Marco Gonzalez versus Wilmer Font. Marco Gonzalez, pleasant surprise this year for Seattle. Really nice price tag here.
It is Marco Gonzalez day. He is the pitcher I was referencing earlier. Like he is still really, really cheap, and this dude has been really freaking good recently. I don't think people realize like he's been so good. Like he's allowed just 1 earned run and 26 innings over his last 4 starts. That 1 earned run was against the Rays. I think it was like CJ Cron or something that probably took him yard because CJ Cron does that against lefties, but like dude's been like sub 2 ERA over his last 8 outings. Like he's a guy, like I profiled his pitch mix in the pitching article. I think he's like I think he's Masahiro Tanaka. Like if you look at him, like he's cut back on his forcing fastball like almost completely, and he's throwing just a bunch of off-speed stuff. And like he reminds me of Tanaka. And against a Rays offense that is really young and strikeout prone, I really, really like him at that price.
Yeah, I mean, I'll save a couple of these things for obviously the article, but like you said, I mean, the off-speed stuff is tremendous. You know, he's throwing that curve and that changeup, nearly 50% of the time. Both have had really good success, and Cron's really the only one that I'm concerned about here, just because he has good numbers against lefties, but also against that curveball too. But that's about it,
Yeah, that's pretty much the only guy that I have interest in, and I actually put him in the pitching articles. Like the only hitter that we really have to worry about is CJ Cron, and I will say this: there is a specific pitch that I reference in the pitching article. If you look at his pitch mix, depending on the sources of where you're getting that information from, there are some sources that reference it as a cutter and some that reference it as a 2-seam. I believe it is actually a cutter, and that's a pitch that no one in Tampa really hits that well.
So he's not even really throwing a fastball at all here.
Not really, no.
So, Seattle side of things here. I don't mind a couple of these bats. The problem is you're probably not going to get Font for too long here.
You're not, but then you're going to get Matt Andrees. So, like, I'm okay with the Seattle bats in the spot. Like, I wish obviously it was a better park, but like, I still think this is a spot where we can attack. Like Wilmer Font, probably not going to last very long in this game. Like, dude's been just terrible. Like, I don't even know why they're rolling him out there just to get beat up. Like, are they trying to break the dude's confidence or something? Like, I don't know. But like 460 WOBA to righties dating back to last season, 461 to lefties, 378 ISO to righties, 370 ISO to lefties. He's gonna have a pretty tough time getting through like the first 5 or 6 hitters before he gets yanked out of this game.
Yeah, I'm going back to the well on like Haniger and Cruz, and I think Seager's an interesting option, all because they're cheap. They're in a ballpark that tends to appreciate ownership. I like these guys, and you can get some value if you need to in that back half of the lineup as well. But it's Seager, Cruz, and Haniger, I think, that I'm most intrigued with.
I absolutely love Seager in this spot. Like, if you look, Font's throwing that 93, 94 mile an hour forcing fastball about 61, 62% of the time. Seager 276 ISO against it, 89% contact rate. But like Haniger, another guy, 206 ISO, 90% contact rate against it. And even someone like D Gordon, not someone you're ever targeting for power, but 359 WOBA, 92% contact rate against that pitch. And Denard Span, revenge for Denard Span, I guess. Dude's like, what does he have? Like back-to-back games with homers. Even in a lefty on lefty matchup, like he's targetable here too.
You mentioned Andres possibly coming in. You'll hear a guy who throws his changeup like 40% of the time. Cruz 271 ISO, Seager 264 ISO, Haniger 200 ISO, even a guy like Ryan Healy 270 ISO, Zunino 281 ISO. Like, if you're just going to throw a flat 92 mile per hour fastball and then a changeup, it's probably not the best.
No, like low key, this offense is only projected for 3.9 runs. Like, it's going to keep people off of them, and I think they're going to go well over that 3.9.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Moving on here, we got Chicago and Boston. Chris Sale take on Dylan Covey. Pretty straightforward game here.
Yes, you play Chris Sale if you want to play Chris Sale. He's going to be super popular. There's all kinds of narratives here. But if you want to roll him out. Dude's got so much strikeout potential, especially against this White Sox offense that's really, really bad. But like, if you want to get creative in tournaments, you can definitely fade him. SP2 sites, it's not terribly hard to get Sale and another high dollar pitcher though.
No, it's really not. On the Boston side, we did see JD Martinez be limited with that back injury. Curious to see if he's in the lineup tonight. There's a potential that this Boston lineup is actually pretty ugly.
As someone that's dealing with my own back injury, I can attest, like, it is very, very, very hard to do much of anything whenever you have a strained back or any kind of pulled muscle in your back. So props to JD Martinez for actually giving it a shot. I don't know if he's going to make the lineup. If he does, he's a fine option. Dude's been on fire recently, but like, man, I it's really tough to fade Benintendi even at that price. But Dylan Covey, a guy, is terrible against hitters on both sides of the plate. Like, everybody is in play from the Boston side of this game.
Yeah, they really are. And, Benintendi, 5'6", tough price, but the dude continues to rake good numbers against sinkers. Like Mitch Moreland there at that price, 4'6". Brock Holt, Rafael Devers, Jackie Bradley Jr., if you want some cheaper exposure, they're all back there in good spots as well.
Yeah, they really are. I really like Bogaerts in this spot too. A guy, like, if you look at the heat map for Covey and where he's throwing a lot of his pitches, Bogaerts has like a 526 WOBA against pitches and down and away, which is where Covey's putting a lot of his pitches against righties dating back to last season. So it is a very good spot for him. Literally everybody is in play, even whatever catcher gets in the lineup, even though like all their catchers have been terrible this season.
Yeah, and you probably get two in there, like Swihart and Leon or Swihart and Vasquez.
Yeah, you probably will, and I don't hate taking a shot on like Swihart just because like the dude wants out of Boston, and if he wants out, he's going to eventually have to start hitting. And he's really cheap on DraftKings, like 2,700.
Yeah. And by the way, this Chicago projected lineup is like a 30% strikeout rate against lefties this year.
Yeah, it's not good.
I don't have any interest in Chicago bats. Do you?
No, it doesn't. Is it Tim Anderson? I think has some decent numbers against Sale in like a very limited sample.
I would not be surprised because Tim Henderson's been very solid against lefties this year.
Yeah, he has. Like I'm gonna pull it up real quick. I think it is Tim Anderson, but let me double check. Chicago White Sox. It is. I guess it's only three at bats: 333, 333, 333. That's what is his slash line, which is like the slash line for everyone. Like Jose Abreu, 333, 500, 333 slash line. Keevan Smith, 333, 333, 333. But like it's only three at bats for all of these guys.
Well, we got to hold up. We'll get some more BVP narrative after this one.
There you go.
Next game here, got San Diego and Miami. Caleb Smith take on Eric Lauer, two lefties. It's weird that they put a AAA team or a game in the MLB slate. I find that kind of odd.
Is it a AAA? I thought it was a AA.
I don't know. I feel like there's more talent in the AA.
There might be.
I would have interest in Caleb Smith on a different slate. I just don't here. I don't feel the need. I will say there are a couple interesting contrarian bats if you want to go here, but I feel like it's fool's gold.
I don't have interest in Caleb Smith at 9,100 on DraftKings. Like, I just don't. Like, I can get Tanaka for 400 more. I can get Velasquez for cheaper. I can get some other guys that we're talking about for cheaper. If he was down, if he was a little bit cheaper, like if he was down in like the low 8Ks, I would have a ton of interest in him, but I don't. Not tonight, no.
No, it had to be a different slate. It's a little bit of a bummer. If it was tomorrow, I'd have some interest, but not today. Obviously, Christian Villanueva is a guy that you can use here on the San Diego side. If you want to take a shot in like a Hunter Renfroe, these guys are all viable like GPP options. Villanueva is always a guy I don't mind against a lefty, but Smith, he just does have that good slider and can miss some bats.
Yeah, like I mean, he is a guy that does have strikeout potential. That's for darn sure. But like, it's just one of those situations where I'm not going to go there tonight, and I would rather look at like the Christian Villanueva as the Hunter Renfroes and guys like that. I'm trying to look and see who took Caleb Smith yard that night because they just played like back on the 28th. Let's see. We'll get the BVP from that game, but that would be like, yeah, I don't really care about this game at all.
No, it's a horrible ballpark. Probably not going to be a ton of runs.
It was Franmil Reyes that took Caleb Smith yard in that game.
He's been hitting the ball pretty well this year.
Yes,
small sample size, but
I will say Miami put up like 5 runs on Lauer in that last outing.
Lauer is god awful.
He is. He very well is, and he really struggles against righties. 410 WOBA, 226 ISO allowed. Maybe the Miami righties are in play here for like value options.
Yeah, I don't hate like a Starlin Castro or Brian Anderson or JT Realmuto. It's the guys that have shown a little bit more pop and hard contact against lefties this year. They're definitely intriguing here if you need like a value contrarian option.
Hey, Miguel Rojas, like 90% contact rate against lefties dating back to last year. Leading off, projected to lead off. There you go. There's a good value option for you right there.
Yeah, they're also trying to get Lewis Brinson into the All-Star game, so.
He has been raking recently. What do you have? Another double dong game? And it wasn't a revenge game for him.
That's true. Yeah, we've only seen him do well in revenge.
Yeah. Don't overlook like Brett Anderson or Brian Anderson. Which Anderson is it? It's Brian Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't overlook him. Like 3,500 double like third base outfield eligibility. He's been really good against lefties this season.
Yeah, for sure. Next game here, we got St. Louis and Cincinnati. Matt Harvey taking on Luke Weaver. Even though Matt Harvey is significantly worse against lefties, I'm still going to stack against Matt Harvey here.
Every time Matt Harvey takes the mound, I do have interest in stacking against him. I wish there were more lefties in this lineup, though, because he is actually somewhat decent against righties. Only 296 WOBA allowed this season, 122 ISO. Fly balls are down against righties. Hard contact, 36%. So there you go there. Obviously, Matt Carpenter, the Colton Wongs, Dexter Fowlers. If Greg Garcia made the lineup, he'd be someone that I have interest in. I just wish there were more lefties.
Yeah, I do too. I talked about a little bit in the stacking article about how his expected stats are a lot worse against right-handers than what they show this year. And like you said, the hard contact is up. It's finding guys that obviously, hit that fastball range pretty well, and that slider just hasn't been missing enough bats either, so it doesn't concern me too much. It's still like Tommy Pham here and Jose Martinez and like Yadier Molina that I don't mind pairing up and going with the stack. But if you're looking for one-offs, it definitely is like Carpenter and Fowler.
Yeah, for sure. And Fowler really, really cheap across the industry. Just a guy who just has not been able to put it all together this season. But I definitely don't hate using him. I mean, against that fastball range, 241 ISO, 388 WOBA, 84% contact rate. Colton Wong, you get a long Wong dong tonight, baby. 399 WOBA, 222 ISO against that fastball range.
Yeah. Cincinnati side of things here, I'm skipping out on the Luke Weaver. He's cheap. You going here at all?
He's a guy. He almost made it in my pitching article. If you wanted to roll him out, feel free. Like the Reds, there is some strikeout potential there for Luke Weaver. Like we've seen his strikeout rate down a little bit this season, 21.1%. He is really cheap though, and outside of he does have some problems with some lefties a little bit, but it's still a decent spot I think for him at 7,500. I don't hate using him. Probably going to be a popular option in that price range, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think he will be too. He always kind of seemingly is. I think he pitched pretty well against the Reds last time out. There's just too many lefties here for me to kind of get on board. I mean, you got Winker, Barton, Hart, Votto, Jeanette, Schebler, Billy Hamilton, I guess. You just look like the strikeout rate down. It's only 17.6%. He's been a little bit better with walks of late to left-handers. I don't know. I'm never truly thrilled with Weaver.
Yeah, I'm not really a huge Weaver guy, but he's for some reason around the fantasy baseball industry, people are super high on him.
Yeah, but I like a Jeanette or Votto one-off here.
I'm always into Jeanette as a one-off dude. Just so good especially against righties this season. 210 ISO, 388 WOBA, decent contact numbers. Jesse Winker at the top of that lineup is a fine option too. Yeah, those would be the guys that I have the most interest in. Against that Weaver's fastball range, 93, 94, Jesse Winker, 235 ISO, 90% contact rate. So you could roll him out as a really good one-off at 3,100 on DraftKings.
Yeah, and it's got Schebler against that. I mean, 429 will be 422 ISO. Not a strong contact, but I mean, a guy that's never going to have a ton of contact, but a lot of power.
Yeah, for sure.
So. Moving on here, Cleveland and Detroit. Mike Fuller versus Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer, just another name here up in this top tier of pitching options. He's been very solid. Another guy I don't mind on tonight's slate.
Wait, Trevor? I thought it was Tyler Bauer.
What did I call him, Trevor Bauer?
It's Tyler Bauer, isn't it?
No, I'm pretty positive it's Trevor.
No, the Tyler Bauer thing's the joke from the whole Pine Tar situation with the Astros pitchers.
I thought you were just messing with me.
They called him Tyler. He
that went right over my head.
Any other matchup, I would probably consider him. But against the Tigers offense that doesn't strike out a ton against righties, and at his current price, I don't really have interest in him. I can get Sale for cheaper. I can get a lot of other guys for cheaper. Again, a tournament option if you want to roll him out. Sorry, I just got a weird pop-up on FanDuel. But if you wanted to roll him out, you could. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have on Tyler Bauer.
I mean, the guy's been awesome. Played like 3 double-digit strikeout games in the last 4 starts. I mean, he's just been good all around this year. One of those games coming against the Tigers, I don't expect another 40 DK point outing. He is a little bit expensive, but I do like the upside here. I'm like all in on Cleveland bats here against Fulmer, and I'm kind of hoping people stay away. But I really, really like the Cleveland side of things tonight. Fulmer has been a guy who's been awful at home and just more awful against lefties than usual this year. He's not particularly a guy stacked against in the past, but I'm like all in on Cleveland here.
Yeah, 335 WOBA, 229 ISO allowed to lefties this season. Strikeout stuff is up this year. But like God, he's so bad against lefties. Like I really do like the Cleveland side of this game.
Like you like all these guys that hit sinkers well. Pitch that he's throwing about 36% of the time, and it's not getting a terribly high ground ball rate. And the rest of his pitches, I mean, he's giving up a ton of hard contact, and yeah, he's got some strikeout stuff, but I think there's even further regression coming for Fulmer here.
Yeah, if you look at his pitch mix this season against lefties, that two-seam sinker, 206 ISO allowed, changeup, 241 ISO allowed, four-seam fastball touches about 95 miles an hour, 267 ISO allowed, slider, 261 ISO allowed. So just a lot of power to like every one of his pitches. So all the lefties here, Lindor, Brantley, Ramirez, that's a pretty powerful 1-2-3 punch. And then you have like Yonder Alonso and like Lonnie Chisenhall and Greg Allen at the bottom of that order that you can get exposure to. Even like Jason Kipnis is someone that you could look at here. Like he's gonna struggle in this spot, that's for sure.
Yeah, he really is. And I'm hoping like the Astros and Red Sox get far more attention, and the Cardinals will, of course. That Indians kind of get overlooked.
Yeah, the Indians are definitely going to go overlooked. Interesting thing with if you look at Lonnie Chisenhall, like only 24 plate appearances against righties this season, 0.05 ISO, 260 WOBA, 80% contact rate, but like numbers dating back to last year, 224 ISO, 341 WOBA. But like again, going back to where Fulmer's placing a lot of his pitches, like 9% of his pitch, 1,750 pitches dating back to last season, dead center of the plate. Lonnie Chisenhall, 683 WOBA against pitches in that zone. Pretty good spot for Chisenhall, and he is generally really, really cheap. He is. What is he?
He's 3,100 on DK.
Yeah, he's way too cheap.
Let's see what it is on FanDuel. He's working his way back from the DL.
Probably.
Let's see. Where did that game go?
2,100.
There you go. Yeah, you can get a cheap back half stack if you wanted the Indians. I'm never going to say no to that.
No, I like that.
Houston, Texas next year. You got Doug Fister take on Justin Verlander, another Houston pitcher that gets to face this Texas team. They probably got to be sick of this.
They probably do. Is there anything that needs to be said about Verlander? Like,
no. He's the Cy Young candidate for me over Garrett Cole. I don't know if that's a hot take anymore.
I don't think it is. Like, I think he might be, and like no discredit to Sale because I like Chris Sale. I think Justin Verlander is the best pitcher on the slate. Period.
In terms of safety, as far as a DFS standpoint, I agree, and I agree totally. Just because Verlander's been such an elite option, we've seen Sale kind of falter a little bit here and there this year, but I mean. Well, there is no knock against Sale or Verlander at all. Like, there's none.
Yeah, there isn't. Like, he shut down this Rangers offense twice already this season. Dude's pitches like have gotten better as he's aged. His freaking changeup this season, like his whiff rate on his changeup last season was 24.7%. It's up to 35% this year. That's insane. 40% whiff rate on his slider. That's actually gotten better. It's it's always been one of the best sliders in baseball, and it got even better this season. It's one of those things like I don't really know that you need to say that much about Verlander. Like if you can afford him tonight, use him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's enough value to get him in and feel pretty comfortable with the lineup, and the strikeout stuff is there. It's weird. Houston's caught on to something, I feel, where the strikeout numbers are far more dominant against lefties than they are righties.
Pine Tart.
Because it's the same for Morton, it's the same for Cole, you know.
Yeah. I think it's just the way they're mixing their pitches. Like I think it just comes down to that. Like if you look at all their pitchers, like when they come to Houston, like they just change their entire pitch profile.
Yeah. No interest in picking on Verlander here on this spot. Houston side of things here, I don't mind. They're going to be a popular offense. I'm not terribly high in them. I don't mind a couple bats, but I'm not like over the moon going to jam them into lineups.
I'm not going to force any of these guys. If you wanted to stack them, you can. You're looking at the guys that hit sinkers really well because that's what Fister's throwing like 60% of the time this season, and he's allowing like a 345 WOBA, 183 ISO, 39% hard contact against it or with that pitch. Evan Gattis, a guy that profiles really well in the spot, 312 ISO against that pitch. Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman, and even Max Stassi, like in a pretty good spot here.
Josh Reddick should be backing into the lineup here. He's another one I have some interest in, fairly cheap around the industry. 389, 172 ISO against that sinker. I always like Reddick. Reddick's always my favorite when he's healthy.
Yeah, he's always a guy I like to target against guys that try to induce ground balls. Like though Fister not doing a very good job of doing that, but he tries. It's just one of those scenarios. Like I feel like I can get more production out of lower owned stacks. So like I might get some one-off exposure here, but I'm not going to force any of these guys in my lineup.
Yeah, it's Gaddis, it's Bregman. It's the guys that are actually truly getting lift on this sinker, and there's actually not that many.
No, there's not.
Next game here, we got LA and Minnesota. Lance Lynn taking on Garrett Richards. Depends what Garrett Richards shows up here tonight. I think he's an interesting SP2 option, but I don't love it. I never feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, it's one of those scenarios where like I just don't know which one is going to show up. I don't know. Maybe I should ask his wife. His wife liked my tweet that one time. I said, we got bad Garrett Richards tonight. His wife really liked that tweet for some reason. I will say this, like this Twins lineup against righties, 29% strikeout rate. Like there's some strikeouts there for him. I don't hate him as an SP2 option. If you want to take that risk, I just don't know that you can do it in cash games.
No, I've learned my lesson. Like it's just Richards is either going to go out there and he's going to miss because he's thrown that slider quite a bit and doesn't have quite control, and he's a guy who can even lose it mid game and all of a sudden just goes off the rails. It's frustrating to roster, but he's obviously a guy with a ton of upside. He's good against lefties, doesn't allow a ton of power. It's always the walks that get him in the biggest trouble. And like you said, there's some strikeouts in this lineup, especially with like Sano back in there as well. I like him. Obviously, one of the dangerous sliders in the game. If he's got it working at that price, the price is always making it worth the risk, I feel.
Yeah, it really does. Like I had a really hard time. I have a really hard time not just locking him in my lineup like every single time he takes a mound because we went to the same high school. We're hometown boys, and I got to support my hometown boy. But I don't know that I can do it tonight.
No, I feel there's better options than trying to pick on Garrett Richards here.
Yeah, I'm not going there.
LA, I feel like we've ran into this problem a few times with the Angels. I want lefties against Lance Lynn, and there's not going to be too many.
You mean Caleb Coward doesn't intrigue you?
No. I have more interest in Colin Coward if he was in the majors.
There's a hot take for you. Yeah, it's the lefties. I'm always going to have interest in them. I guess tonight that means Luis Valbuena and Caleb Cowart. And that's about it. Lance Lynn, a guy, 352 WOBA, 209 ISO against lefties dating back to last season. So, yeah, those are the guys you're really looking at. It's just there's not enough lefties in that lineup, unfortunately. And, yeah, that really, really, really sucks. And, of course, no Ohtani in the lineup, so I can't just lock him in.
No, because the blisters are back.
Yeah. it's disappointing.
Yeah, like I will say I think the righty that I do have the interest in is Justin Upton because he's gotten into that hot streak, and I always like Justin Upton when he's got a few homers under his belt because they usually continue.
Yeah, I don't hate that. This feels like the same. Was it the Twins that knocked him out during his last hot streak? I don't remember. I think it was right around the time they played that last series. Whenever he got knocked out because he got hit by a pitch.
I think so. Yeah.
He's fine. Like I said, like Valbuena's a guy that's interesting. 214 ISO against lefties dating back to last season. Unfortunately, dude doesn't have any plate discipline skills, like 28% strikeout rate. But against that fastball range that Lynn is throwing, he's basically splitting his four seam and his two seam pretty equally against lefties. Valbuena 328 ISO against the pitch. Caleb Cowart 316. Valbuena 254 ISO against that two seam sinker. Caleb Cowart, not good numbers against it, but yeah, those are the guys you mentioned. Upton, Valbuena, Cowart for me.
Yeah. Next game here we got Coors. German Marquez take on Zach Greinke. Both these pitchers are easy fades on this slate.
Yeah, like if this was in Arizona, I would have a ton of interest in Greinke at that price, but it's a pretty easy fade for me here.
Yeah. Much more inclined to pick on Marquez here. He's a little bit odd though this year. He did back to last year. I mean, 230 ISO to right-handed bats. This year he's done a bit better ground ball job with against righties, but the hard contact is still there. But lefties, you have the more fly ball chance. I don't mind taking some shots here on a couple guys. This is another side that comes into Coors and are not overly expensive.
No, like the Arizona side of this is pretty interesting. Obviously, we have John Jay projected to lead off. He's like 4,200. A guy before getting traded was just on an absolute freaking tear. I do really like him in this spot. Then you have Goldschmidt behind him, who's been hitting a little bit better. He's the most expensive person in the stack, I believe. Yeah. But he's a fine option too. And then you have Lamb, Murphy. I really like Murphy in this spot. Like, dude's been absolutely raking. I know he's like the most expensive catcher on the slate, but he's in a pretty good spot. Even the guys like Descalso, Nick Ahmed towards the bottom of that lineup, I think you can get exposure to. And revenge game for Descalso.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I like those options. David Peralta, I feel, is way too cheap. 49% hard contact rate against that 95-mile-per-hour fastball. It's more so the lefties here. I don't mind Goldie, of course, but it's the lefties for me here, even though we've seen Marquez give up a lot to righties.
Yeah, David Peralta, 7th in hard contact over the last 2 weeks at almost 60%. That's pretty shocking to see him up there.
Oh, he is 56% hard contact rate against righties on the year.
Yeah, he's been hitting the ball really hard. It's just generally not in the air, unfortunately.
No, it's the ground ball rate's climbing back up to where Peralta knows.
Yeah, but it's Coors, so you never know. Maybe one of those ground balls takes off.
It's true. Other side of this one, I still don't have a ton of interest in Greinke or picking on Greinke. I will say, hold on, someone has the BVP off of them.
Cargo, I believe.
It is Cargo, isn't it?
Yeah. Let me pull it up to be sure, but I'm pretty sure it's Cargo.
Cargo
36.
5 homers. Yeah, Story's got 4 homers.
There you go. There's your BVP plays for you.
I mean, he has given up a little bit more power and fly balls, and obviously the hard contact is there just because he's a different pitcher these days, and he's relying a lot on those off-speed stuff. None of these guys particularly stand out against off-speed outside of, like, Blackman, but I don't know how much I'll be paying up for Blackman.
I would say, what is he? He's throwing that 89-mile-an-hour four-seam fastball like 38% of the time. Charlie Blackman, it's only 22 batted ball events, but 643 ISO against it. Nolan Arenado, 677 ISO against it. Trevor Story, 538 ISO against it. Some pretty powerful numbers. And, like, you have Blackman, Arenado, Cargo, and Story all, and Chris Iannetta all, like, over 50% hard contact, and it's a revenge game for Iannetta too, isn't it?
Yeah, he played with Arizona,
and he caught Greinke, so there you go.
Yeah,
always like to take catchers against pitchers that they caught.
All right, I might be. I just wish we got a little bit of a discount. I think that's my biggest issue. I wouldn't mind like a Colorado stack, but there's no discount here at all.
Oh yeah, but it's Coors, so like I mean, Cargo at 4,400. That's somewhat of a discount, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. But it's like Blackman 5'8", Arenado 5'7", Story 4'7". I don't know. I with the away team being cheaper, they're a contrarian stack. Well, not a contrarian stack, but they won't be as highly owned as I think they will be tonight.
Yeah, and like even so, like LeMahieu at 4,500 is in a pretty decent spot.
Yeah. So guys who had changeups well as Arenado, Blackman, Cargo, all intriguing options. LeMahieu as well.
Yep.
So moving on, Kansas City, Oakland. Frankie Montas taking on Jake Junis. Montas obviously pitched well against this Royals team. I'm a little bit concerned going back to the well just because it's a team that's seen him twice now, or will see him once already.
Yeah, he made it in my pitching article. I think he's just a guy that you can feel somewhat comfortable in using. Not a ton of strikeout stuff, but generally speaking, has limited fly balls pretty well in the minors. Decent pitch mix. Like he's just a guy like I think can go pretty deep into this game. And if you look like the Royals are just now that John Jay is gone, like he was what their like third best hitter. Which is saying something. Like they're just not good against right-handed pitching, like at all.
No, they're not. He's definitely SP2 viable just because you can use a couple cheap options here. Good ballpark. There's actually a decent sized favorite as well.
Yeah, it's not a spot where I'm terribly scared, like I said. And like if you look like they have two hitters in their projected lineup with contact rates over 80% against right-handed pitching, and like against two-seam fastballs, like almost their entire projected lineup owns ground ball rates over 40%. Like, just not really scared of him blowing up. And he went like 8 innings, only had 2 strikeouts against this team last time out, but like still a decent spot. Like at 7,900, if you're looking to pay down, like I don't really hate using him.
I'm with you. I feel like Jake Junis is an interesting SP2 here as well.
Yeah, we just saw him pretty much shut down this offense last time out. I mean, 9 strikeouts, 7 innings pitched, gave up 3 earned runs. He's a guy it kind of depends on what pitches he's going to rely on. Like if he relies on that slider a lot, like which he should, like there's no one really in this lineup outside of Chris Davis that hits sliders worth a damn. And Chris Davis, like only 57% contact rate against the pitch.
And like we've seen strikeout stuff out of him. I mean, 4 of his last 5 starts, he's had 7 or more strikeouts, including that Oakland game where he had 9. And he's just kind of been a tough luck loser. You know, he's going to allow 2 to 3 earned runs, and the strikeouts are definitely there tonight.
Yeah, they are. This, like I said, I mean, this offense is just terrible. Like he threw a slider 40% of the time last time against the A's. If he does the same again, I could see a pretty similar performance out of him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't really have a ton of interest outside of like Matt Olson or Chris Davis. Just 2 guys that could at least get a hold of one.
Yeah, those would be the 2 guys I would look at.
Atlanta and LA, Walker Buehler versus Brandon McCarthy. I'm kind of treating like this game's not even on the slate.
Yeah, I'm not really looking at too much here. Like I do like Buehler in general, but not on the slate, not against the Braves. And McCarthy is a guy I generally do like to take. Not a guy that gets blown up a ton. Like he has a few blow up outings, but like at 5,900 against this Dodgers team they've been hot recently. But flying back across country, back at home, I don't necessarily know that I have a lot of interest in using them outside of like Max Muncy, who just rakes against righties.
Yeah, it's him, and I do like Bellinger still, who's heating up a little bit. Yes, Manny Grandal, another catcher who's will get to face a former pitcher of his because McCarthy pitched in LA. It is a revenge game if McCarthy's feeling vengeful.
He might be. Maybe we should tweet him and see.
Let's ask. Yeah, let's all ask. Just all collectively send Brendan McCarthy a tweet.
Are you feeling vengeful taking on your former team?
I mean, the Dodgers don't have a projected high total here. It's just kind of Grandal, Bellinger, and like you said, Muncy.
Yeah,
that's it. LA side, I feel like, or Atlanta side, I don't really have a ton of interest picking on Buehler here, but I feel like Buehler's too expensive as well.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel. Like I'll never say no to like a Freddie Freeman just because he always goes overlooked. He is expensive, and like dude has enough power to hit on the moon, so I'm not terribly worried about the park. But yeah, I'm not really looking to target the Braves here.
No, I'm not either. Yeah, like you said, it's Markakis, and he's got solid numbers against that good high 95, 96 mile per hour fastball for 39 WOBA, 277 ISO, but the rest of the Braves, not so much.
Yeah.
So, home run calls, who do you got?
Mitch Moreland and Lonnie Chisenhall.
Ooh, I like it. Going Anthony Rendon, and then I am taking Matt Carpenter.
It's going to be a tilting night if you think Matt Carpenter's going to hit a homer.
Oh, man, that's enough out of you. We're done here. Head on over to DaveFantasyCafe.com. Check out our tools and content, and we'll be back next week.
Good luck tonight.